I knew something was off when my security badge beeped red that morning. Not the soft denial tone either, the loud, rude one that sounds like you just tried to rob a CVS. I had to be buzzed in by the intern. The intern, who looked at me like I was delivering DoorDash instead of being the person who literally built the damn backend that runs the circus. I figured maybe IT was rebooting the badge system again. Last time they accidentally locked out the CFO and half the QA team. But when I got to my desk and couldn't log into the build server, yeah, that's when I felt it, that specific flavor of dread HR likes to serve with a smile and a laminated folder. Morning, Ava, chirped Christine from HR, who always smelled like cucumber toner and passive aggression. Can we grab a quick sync in Conf Room B? Sync my ass. Conf Room B is where they go to kill dreams and collect laptops. Inside the room sat Christine, a clipboard, and a box of tissues she strategically placed right next to the seat they'd obviously chosen for me. Across from her, in that beige ergonomic chair that somehow makes you feel like you're the one being unreasonable for sitting in it wrong, sat a manila envelope. It had my name on it. First name only. Like they didn't have time to remember who the hell I was. Ava, Christine said, not even waiting for me to sit. We're entering a phase of realignment as we prepare for our Series C. It's a very exciting time. She smiled like a wax doll at a funeral. In the interest of presenting a streamlined narrative to investors, we're making some updates to our public-facing documentation and contributor records. I stared at her. You're deleting me from the build. She blinked. That's one way to frame it, and this is because. Christine folded her hands like a Girl Scout asking for forgiveness after setting your mailbox on fire. There's been some concern about narrative cohesion. Investors like to see clear stories. You've had pauses in your timeline, medical leave, transitions, maternity leave, I corrected. And you mean the CEO thinks the VCs won't like that the backbone of this platform has a uterus? She flinched just slightly. It's not personal. That's the thing with betrayal, it always is. Even when it's dipped in corporate jargon and handed to you with a smile. I didn't yell, I didn't cry. I didn't hurl a monitor through the wall, even though the fantasy flashed bright in my brain. I just looked at her and said, cool, put it all in writing. Christine hesitated. We're hoping you'll help us with a smooth transition. I'm sure you are, still want it in writing. Then I stood up, walked out, and didn't even slam the door. I held it politely for the next person walking in. Some poor engineer probably about to be told they were getting reassigned to a growth-aligned structure. Hey, quick thing. If you're still here and you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, 97% of y'all are just ghosting these stories without showing love. A like or sub goes a long way. Keeps this little revenge-fueled engine running. Seriously, our team reads every comment. Keeps us caffeinated and just petty enough. Anyway, back at my desk, my GitHub access was already revoked. Cute. My name was gone from the commit history. They even stripped my author tag from the heartbeat script I wrote, the literal core process that kept the damn system alive during that 2-week outage they blamed on a malformed plugin. Translation. Justin pushed live from staging again and nobody stopped him. Speaking of Justin, I got a calendar invite an hour later titled Shadowing Onboarding. Technical Transition Flow. Guest list, me and Justin L. Justin L., the guy who once confused SSH with a Slack handle. The same Justin who once tried to fix a cache error by rebooting his monitor. That Justin. Apparently, he was now taking over my role as lead systems architect. I clicked accept. Then I opened up my old shell notes, highlighted a line that read, if narrative complication equals true, terminate illusion. I smiled. Quiet, small, the kind of smile you wear when the bomb's already planted and no one's noticed the ticking yet. Let them have their narrative. I still had the heartbeat. Justin showed up to our handoff meetings wearing a fleece pullover and the expression of someone who thought APIs were a protein shake brand. He sat across from me in the glass-walled fishbowl conference room, tapping on his iPad like it might hatch if he warmed it long enough. HR had framed this whole thing as co-ownership of knowledge transfer, but the truth was obvious. Justin was here to be spoon-fed the architecture I bled for, then prance around calling himself the architect. This endpoint, I said, gesturing at the diagram, is how the system syncs asynchronous alerts with the reporting dashboard. It's latency critical, so wait, he interrupted, chewing his pen cap like a toddler going through nicotine withdrawals. What's an endpoint again? Like a button, my eye twitched. 2 weeks, that was the deal. 2 weeks of pretending this man had a functioning brainstem while I handed him the keys to the kingdom. Only I wasn't planning on handing over all of them. He squinted at the code base I pulled up on the shared screen. Hey, there's a lot of comments in here. Like this one, / initiate pretend promotion. What's that mean? Legacy joke, I said flatly, you'll catch up. I'd already started layering in cryptic breadcrumb comments camouflaged like innocent dev banter. Stuff like / narrative complication ++ / access denied later. Right arrow, trust me. / deprecated but essential. Do not delete, he wouldn't notice. Hell, no one on that team would. They wanted a figurehead, not a builder. They were dressing up a parade float and praying no one poked the papier-mâché too hard. Christine from HR hovered like a debt collector, checking progress, cooing about tone neutrality in the documentation. She brought me wellness mints. Mints, like peppermint would make erasure easier to swallow. I just kept smiling and uploading partial code walkthroughs to the shared drive, pretending to be cooperative while quietly rerouting access protocols into buried submodules labeled things like warm taco mode and daisy chain 42. Meanwhile, my credentials were dying a slow death. First, they restricted database write access, then API token generation. By Wednesday, I couldn't even view prod logs unless I asked someone from DevOps to pretty please copy/paste them in Slack. And guess who HR encouraged to monitor my requests? DevOps John, the guy who once sent a dick pic to the company Slack bot by accident and now acts like I owe him discretion. Every time Christine popped her head into the conference room, I had to fight the urge to scream. Instead, I channeled the rage into cleaner sabotage. I rewrote the cache flush logic with a delay function that only activated under one condition. When Justin deployed using the admin UI. Harmless for now, beautifully poetic later. One night that week, after the office emptied and Justin had slithered back into his startup incubator roommate den, or wherever the hell he spawned from, I stayed late. Just me, a lukewarm Diet Coke, and the bitter hum of fluorescent lights. I reopened the heartbeat monitor module, the one I'd written from scratch during a snowstorm while 8 people on our team had COVID. I added a line at the bottom. If deleted contributors 0, trigger warning red thread. Then I buried the red thread module 3 directories deep in an old backup branch. No one audits those, not unless the sky is already falling. The next morning, Justin asked if we could rename some database tables to be more startup-y. He wanted to change users to Vibers and logs to memos. I blinked once. Sure, I said. I'll note it for the next commit. I did not note it. Instead, I opened up my own copy of the architecture map and began marking where the pressure points were, places that would collapse quietly if someone made changes without understanding the plumbing. Justin babbled on about KPIs and synergy. I sipped my coffee and imagined what his face would look like the moment he realized the heartbeat didn't recognize him, that it would run for now because I told it to, but one day soon it would start asking questions, looking for the architect it knew, the one they deleted from the repo like I was a typo. Let them shadow, let them smile, let them build their shiny new narrative. I had already started writing the footnote. Part 3 coming up next. The first error was small. A harmless little blip in the logging queue, timestamps duplicated, event tags misaligned by a fraction of a second. Justin flagged it on Slack with an lol weird, and a stock gif of a confused raccoon. I replied with the actual fix and the line of code causing it. He hearted my message and did nothing. 12 hours later, support tickets started trickling in from QA. Reports weren't rendering in Safari. Alerts weren't triggering in test environments tied to legacy clients. Nothing catastrophic, just the kind of stuff that makes engineers sweat and account managers drink. I sent Justin another message. Check the heartbeat dependency in syscore/lib. It's pulling an old token version. Roll back the override, redeploy clean. He left me on scene. Instead, he told the team during stand-up that there may be gremlins in the config cache and that we're going to do a vibey little hotfix push later. Vibey little hotfix. I nearly bit through my coffee stirrer. By midweek, the logs were full of silent fails. No crashes, just processes slowing to molasses. API pings that took 5 seconds instead of 1. Metrics that disappeared, then returned corrupted. Meanwhile, Justin was busy updating the platforms about us page with his own headshot, cropped just right to show off the Stanford hoodie he never actually earned. That morning, as I was pushing the final commit of my transition files, my sanitized, useless, HR-approved goodbye, I got the notification. Access revoked mid-shift. No warning, no explanation. Just a single automated message that read, as part of your offboarding, all non-essential credentials have been removed. Thank you for your contributions. Contributions, like I was a blood donor. Like I hadn't architected their uptime during the great meltstorm of Q2. Like I wasn't the reason the backend didn't scream every time marketing did something innovative with uncompressed video. I stared at the screen for a solid minute. No rage, no heartbreak, just stillness, because they were too late. 15 minutes before HR hit the trigger. I'd already committed the last of it. Narrative complication Java, a ghost class. Wrapped in conditions so obscure only someone tracing the code manually could find it. On the surface, it looked like a harmless deprecation logger. But buried inside was a directive. If build author equals recognized, log red thread initiated. Require ghost/red thread sys. Not a bomb, not sabotage, just a warning. Like a lighthouse in the fog flashing a single word, stop. I logged out, closed my laptop, and left it on the desk for Christine to collect like a crime scene souvenir. Didn't even bother with the exit interview. I'd already said everything I needed to, in syntax, in shell scripts, in the comments no one bothered to read. As I walked past the glass conference rooms, I saw Justin pacing, arguing with someone on a Zoom call. He kept jabbing his finger at the screen like it owed him an apology. Platform wasn't deploying clean. Logs weren't syncing. The CI/CD pipeline was stuck in an infinite retry loop. The heartbeat monitor was still running, but now it was pinging a module no one had seen before. Red thread whispered the logs over and over again. I passed Christine in the hallway. She smiled that customer service smile and said, "We're grateful for everything, Ava." I smiled back. "I'm sure you are." Then I walked out, badge still in my pocket. Email shuttered. Code wiped from their servers, but not from the system itself. Because that's the thing about architecture: strip the paint, remove the plaques, fire the designer. The foundation still remembers who laid the first stone. The machine would run until it didn't. And when that moment came, it wouldn't scream. It would whisper. My name. The building was quiet when I arrived. Offices still half empty from whatever post-pandemic flexibility trend HR departments were pitching this quarter. No kombucha taps, no neon signs declaring code hard, dream harder. Just a clean lobby, a polite receptionist, and a badge with my real name on it. Ava Martin, Senior Systems Advisor, Orion Stealth Division. Not contractor. Not consultant. Advisor. Like someone whose mind mattered. The offer came 3 days after my last badge beeped red at my old job. A discreet email, subject line: "We heard what happened. You available to talk?" The stealth division was building something clean, lean, and, to be honest, dangerous. They weren't reinventing the wheel, they were laser cutting it. Their roadmap matched my old company's product line like a sniper scope mirrors a pupil. And the best part? Their CTO, Lena, an engineer first, business strategist second, sat me down on day one and said, "You'll never be erased here. If I die, it goes in my will." Ava did this. I almost cried. I didn't, but I did go to the bathroom and stare at myself in the mirror for 5 straight minutes. That's how foreign validation had become. They didn't ask me to spy. Didn't need to. Lena only said, "Build it better than what they built. That's all the revenge we need." But still, I marked the calendar. Demo Day Series C11 AM PST. I knew the exact time block they'd be live streaming to analysts and VCs. I'd been the one to set up the investor portal backend, back when I was still a key contributor, before I was downgraded to an inconvenient plot hole in their pitch deck. I didn't tell anyone on my new team. They didn't need to know what I carried in the back of my head, what I'd stashed behind digital walls and metadata. What I did do, in the privacy of my home office that weekend, was activate the last piece of my failsafe. A script, one single script, not destructive, not malicious, just conditional. It didn't call home, didn't ping a server in Iceland or torch the database. That would be sloppy. No, this script lived in their system, quiet, elegant, waiting. It triggered only if 2 things happened. The heartbeat monitor registered a new deployment build where build author equals recognized. Legacy token cache tried to override red thread dependencies without validation. That's it. And if both those things aligned, the script would run a simple diagnostic. It would fail, it would escalate, and then it would freeze gracefully, leaving a single log message for the lead engineer: "System integrity compromised. Please consult original architect." No names, no blame, just the soft beep of a system that remembered me even when they didn't. Meanwhile, at Orion, I flourished. We moved fast, smarter. I was given a full team, a small one but sharp. Engineers who didn't speak in startup gibberish or pretend cron jobs were magical. We iterated on problems that mattered, got early alpha clients who actually used the product, instead of asking if the UI could include more rounded corners and pastel gradients. I stopped checking my old company's Glassdoor. I stopped hovering over LinkedIn posts wondering if anyone would call out the CEO's open letter about equity for what it was: polished hypocrisy. I focused, I healed, but I didn't forget. And every morning when I opened my laptop, that date on my calendar glared back at me like a loaded chamber. Demo Day, 11 a.m. PST. The day the heartbeat would ask a question no one on their new team could answer. I didn't want blood. Just proof. Just memory. Just the sound of my name echoing in the walls they painted over. The live stream went live at 10:59 a.m. I didn't need to watch it. I already knew how it would go. But I did, not out of spite, out of precision. I propped my laptop up on the window ledge of my new office, mug in hand, team 3 doors down hammering out a real product that actually worked, and I pressed play. There he was, Justin, standing in front of a minimalist slide deck, his name plastered across the bottom in bold. Justin Larson, lead technical architect lead. Technical architect. I nearly spit my coffee. He opened with the same swagger he always brought to product meetings, arms wide, grin tight, eyes flicking from teleprompter to camera like a ferret on Red Bull. "We've reimagined scale," he said. "We've unified architecture and user empathy," he said. My personal favorite, our heartbeat system ensures uninterrupted stability at any deployment velocity. Oh, honey, I muted the audio. At precisely 11:02 a.m., the demo began. Clean UI, slick animations, a dashboard preloaded with sample data. Clicks landed, reports loaded, buttons did button things, and then at 11:03:06 the alert queue hiccuped. At 11:03:14 real-time logging stalled. At 11:03:21 user filters froze. At 11:03:35, error messages started slipping through the cracks, quietly at first in the console logs only. By 11:04:00, the demo was lagging like a dial-up stream on a Windows 98 laptop in a thunderstorm. Justin was still smiling, still clicking, still babbling about container elasticity like he had any damn clue what a container was. I unmuted just in time to hear him say, "Sometimes we hit legacy turbulence, but it's all part of growth." The camera cut to the lead engineer, not one of the flashy new hires. A quiet guy named Sam I used to eat lunch with in the server room when the cafeteria was too loud. His face was pale. His fingers were flying across his keyboard. He wasn't looking at the dashboard. He was looking under the hood. The heartbeat monitor was blinking, and the logs had started repeating, "Ghost module initiated. Red thread check in progress. Build author unrecognized. Heartbeat unable to validate system integrity." Sam's mouth moved, no mic, but I could read it. "What the hell is red thread?" The audio cracked as Justin leaned toward the mic. "We're just doing a quick refresh, minor latency from some overlapping scripts. Probably a DevOps thing." He was floundering. You could hear the air shift in the room. One of the investors coughed. Someone else on the stream muted their camera. The head of growth suddenly looked like she was holding back a sneeze made of panic. I leaned back in my chair, not smiling, not celebrating, just watching, because it wasn't over yet. This wasn't the climax, it was the creak before the break. The moment the crowd hushes, not because they're in awe, but because something's clearly about to go very wrong. And somewhere, deep inside that system, wrapped in code they never read and protocols they thought were legacy junk, a heartbeat was pulsing, waiting, asking the same question over and over again. "Where's the architect?" They erased my name. But the code remembered. The war room was silent except for the staccato clatter of Sam's keyboard. Christine from HR stood stiff as drywall near the far end of the table, arms crossed, smile surgically stapled to her face. She had been called in 20 minutes into the demo, after the third investor asked why the metrics panel was blank, and the fourth one dropped from the call entirely. "We're experiencing a transient backend misfire," she said with her usual sing-song cadence, the one that made her sound like she was selling discount yoga mats instead of managing a digital arson. "All part of live testing environments. The team is resolving it." Sam didn't look up. His fingers flew across the keys like they were trying to outrun a landslide. He wasn't just debugging anymore, he was hunting. I knew that look. I'd worn it the night the system melted down, and I slept under my desk to keep the heartbeat stable while Justin brainstormed vibe-based workflows in the cafeteria. On my screen, back in the Orion office, the live stream zoomed in just enough to catch it. Sam pulling up narrative complication Java. He didn't pause. He scrolled, scanned, froze. There near the bottom of the script was the line, "require ghost/redthreadsys." He clicked it. The dependency refused to resolve. Error 403, API key locked to deprecated author signature. Another click, another denial. He typed, "overrode, bypassed, called token validators." Nothing. Then quietly, slowly, he took off his glasses, placed them on the table, and turned toward Christine. "What exactly did you delete?" Christine blinked. "Excuse me?" In the transition, Sam said, voice flat. "What exactly did you remove?" She straightened. "Only deprecated credentials and outdated contributor tags, per standard offboarding procedure." "Did you delete the build author key?" Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. That wasn't flagged as critical. Sam looked like someone had just told him gravity was optional. That key authenticated the heartbeat dependency. She blinked again. "That key," Sam repeated, "is the architect. Without it, the system doesn't recognize itself." He spun the monitor around. Logs poured in one after another. Heartbeat check failed. Red thread escalation active. Fallback override unavailable. Consult original architect. No explosions, no flashing red screens, just a relentless wave of polite, system-level rejection. Christine leaned in. "Can't you just reinstate her?" "No," Sam said. "You didn't suspend her. You deleted her. Git logs are scrubbed. Tokens revoked. You didn't offboard her, you ghosted her code. Now it's ghosting you." I muted the stream and just stared. This was the moment, not the chaos, not the collapse. The real moment when they realized it wasn't sabotage. It was precision. It was memory. They built their kingdom on my blueprint and then burned the map. And now they were lost. Across the office, someone knocked lightly on my door. It was Lena, holding a coffee and giving me that look, the one that says, "You good?" Without needing words, I nodded. She smiled and walked away. My hand hovered over the pause button. I didn't press it, because justice wasn't loud. It was a whisper. A quiet breath held on the other end of a live stream while an engineer stared into the abyss of his own system and realized it never belonged to him. "We remain fully confident in the platform's integrity," Justin said, his voice cracking like a dollar store wine glass. The camera had zoomed out, now catching all 12 faces in the demo war room, each one trying not to look like they were Googling damage control in real time. Christine stood frozen at the edge of frame, visibly sweating through her empathy is a strategy blouse. The CEO, Richard, the same man who once told me in a hallway that optics matter more than origin, sat stone-faced at the head of the table. And then it happened. Investor hash 3, a woman named Shailini from Beckmore Capital, tilted her head slightly and said, loud and clear, "Why is your system heartbeat keyed to someone no longer employed here?" You could hear the silence suck the air out of the room. Sam tried to speak. Justin beat him to it. It's a legacy naming. The actual authorization doesn't depend on her anymore. It's just a tag, just a symbolic string, really. Purely decorative. Shailini didn't blink. So why is your backend refusing to acknowledge any build authored post-deletion? Justin glanced toward Richard. Richard looked like a man being slowly vacuum-sealed in corporate shame. Sam, bless him, quietly rotated his laptop and showed the terminal feed. The logs streamed past, undeniable. Build author, Ava Martin. Version 4.9.13 last stable. Heartbeat source, verified. Override attempt detected, rejected. Red thread warning, fallback not recognized. System integrity check failed. Consult original architect. Investor hash 4, some guy in a blazer too expensive for his brain, sighed loudly, stood up from his camera, and without a word clicked leave meeting. The call dropped. Investor hash 2 muted himself and started typing something on his phone with the kind of aggression usually reserved for legal counsel or bad takeout reviews. Let's not panic. Christine cut in, voice wobbling. This is a transitional moment. We're confident that Investor hash 1 interrupted her. Show us the author history. Justin blinked. The Git history, Shailini said. Prove that this team, authored the current system. No one moved, then Sam, hands shaking, typed a few commands. The window opened, and there it was. Last clean commit. Ava Martin, the last stable build. Ava Martin, the initialization key. A Martin.427, everything else was tagged as deprecated, unverified, or worse, unknown contributor. I sat at my desk in Orion, watching it unfold in silence. Didn't smile, didn't gloat, just watched. Because this wasn't vengeance. It was exposure. It was truth rising like mold through fresh paint. The system wasn't failing, it was telling the truth. It ghosted the one person the system trusted. And now, in front of millions in investor capital, press, and a handful of VCs who could smell blood in the water, that system was ghosting them back. Richard leaned forward, sweating through his bespoke shirt, his voice a strained whisper through the mic. Get her on the phone. Now, Sam shook his head. She's gone. Justin tried to interrupt. Maybe if we know. Sam looked him dead in the eyes. You don't get to maybe this. You deleted her. Now you deal with it. Another investor left the call, and another. Slack icons in the corner of their screens started blinking red. I could see the avalanche building in real time. The PR team would release a learning moment statement by sunset. Christine would schedule cross-functional retrospectives. Justin would go on a 4-week silent wellness retreat sponsored by Spinelessness. And me? I stayed quiet, didn't tweet, didn't post. Didn't so much as like a LinkedIn comment, because the code had spoken. And when code speaks clearly, you don't need to shout. Subject line, can we talk? That was it. No hi Ava, no punctuation, no apology. Just a digital whisper from Richard's inbox to mine, sent 6 hours after his empire cracked like dollar store laminate under the weight of its own denial. I didn't open it. I didn't respond. I archived it without blinking. System had already answered for me. By the next morning, press releases started spinning, unexpected backend turbulence, refocusing development priorities, grateful to our departing interim team. PR vomit dressed in buzzwords. But the silence from the VCs was louder. Funding stalled. One of the investors issued a one-line statement. We invest in builders, not ghost stories. And just like that, the erasure began unraveling in reverse. A week later, Orion's stealth division, my new home, dropped a closed beta announcement. No fireworks, no inflated hype. Just a simple message posted in a targeted forum where the right people would see it. A new approach to enterprise architecture. Built clean, built honest. The screenshots showed a UI that felt familiar but sharper. Simpler. Functional where my old company's dashboard had been bloated. And under the hood, modular, scalable, self-healing architecture. The kind of thing you only get when the original architect doesn't have to explain herself to a product manager who thinks cash and validation is a coffee brand. The kind of thing I build. Rumors trickled in almost immediately. Did Ava make this? Isn't that her failover structure? I heard she's not just advising, she wrote the base. Didn't she do the heartbeat stuff? This runs smoother. I said nothing. But the system spoke for me. Somewhere inside Orion's backend, under src/core/monitor/red thread Java was a note, a final echo. Not hidden, not encrypted, just sitting quietly in a log file like an old scar that no longer stings. Red thread, activated if system detects ghost signatures or erased contributor keys. Not destructive, not revenge. Just a reminder, don't erase people. We remember. No explosions, no gotcha. Just that, a log, a heartbeat. A truth too stubborn to be silenced. Back at my desk, Lena tapped her knuckles on my doorframe, grinning. Beta signups already passed quota, she said. You coming to the strategy call? In a minute, I said. I closed the last lingering tab from the old world, Richard's archived email, and powered down the browser. The system didn't belong to them anymore. It never had. It remembered its architect. And so did the world. Big thanks for watching, you sneaky seniors. Subscribe to keep the coffee pot brewing revenge. Your ex-colleagues won't know what hit him.